Hello and welcome. The remains of the 38 Indians killed by the so-called Islamic State terrorists in Iraq in 2014 are expected to reach India later today. The remains were handed over by Iraqi Health Ministry to the Indian Embassy in Baghdad. Minister of State for External Affairs, General V.K. Singh, reached Iraq on Sunday to bring back the remains to the country. General V.K. Singh is scheduled to fly to Amritsar in Punjab and land there by late afternoon today to hand over the remains to the families there. The Punjab Minister, Navjot Singh Sidhu, will be present at the airport to receive the bodies. Sources tell WION that no DNA matching of forensic tests will be performed another time on the bodies of the 38 Indians killed in Iraq. After Amritsar, V.K. Singh will travel to Patna and Kolkata to hand over bodies to the families there. Now, of the 40 hostages taken by the so-called Islamic State in Mosul in Iraq, 39 of them were declared dead last week, while one of them escaped posing as a Bangladeshi Muslim. Others were taken to a Badoush jail and were killed subsequently. The remains of one of the victims have yet to be identified.
We are with everybody who's fighting against terrorism. We understand the consequences. We know that there are no good or bad terrorists, they're all terrorists, and terrorism in any form and manifestation is abhorrent to us.
Right, so that's the big story we're tracking here on WION this morning. These visuals show General V.K. Singh escorting at least one of the coffins of the 38 Indians killed by the so-called Islamic State in Mosul in 2014. India is bringing back the mortal remains of all the 38 Indians back home, and the flight is expected to land first in Amritsar very shortly. General V.K. Singh, India's Junior Minister of External Affairs, is accompanying on board that aircraft and will hand over the bodies to the relatives in Amritsar, the city in the northern state of Punjab. And from there, the aircraft will travel first to Bihar and later to Kolkata in West Bengal to hand over the other mortal remains to the relatives there. Remember, the 38 Indians went missing in Iraq in 2014, barely days after Mosul was captured by the so-called Islamic State. And for the last 4 years, there's been no closure at all for the families of the relatives of the 38 Indians who went missing in Iraq and since been declared dead. Now, this is another one more step towards closure for the families of those 38 Indians. The DNA samples were sent from India to Iraq last month, and the 38 samples did match. The 39th body is still yet to be identified, but on the aircraft today are 38 bodies which are being brought back home. Right, joining me from Amman in Jordan is my colleague Daniele Bagani. Good morning, Daniele. After nearly 4 years now, finally one more step towards closure for the families of those 38 Indians.
Good morning to you, Ramesh. Yes, finally is the right word. We have been waiting a long time for these, and despite this is obviously not good news, we would have obviously preferred to have found them alive somewhere, maybe even prisoners, but unfortunately this did not happen. But at least now families know what happened to their beloved and know what will happen, and they finally can give the final and last salute to these 39 Indian workers who left from India, from their villages in the northern state of Punjab in order to work as many other Indians, precisely 10,000 Indians back in 2014 in Iraq. They were working there, mostly in the construction companies. They left for a better salary, for a better job, to help their families back home in India. And unfortunately, they met the brutality of the Islamic State. But yes, today, General V.K. Singh is expected to come back with the mortal remains, and so therefore families can finally give the final salute to their beloved.
Right, Daniele, you and I can't even begin to imagine the trauma, the pain of those families in India, back home in India, to receive not just the bodies but the mortal remains of whatever is left of their bodies. Now, what do we know about the circumstances in which these 38 Indians were kidnapped and later killed by the so-called Islamic State?
It is very difficult to reconstruct precisely what happened after the Islamic State conquered the city of Mosul. We know that these 39 Indians were hired by a company based in Baghdad, the capital city of Iraq. They had an enormous contract to build some university apartments, a very big complex made of towers, a 10, 15-story building, and also a new stadium in the city of Mosul. So they traveled from Baghdad to Mosul, where they mostly lived inside the site that they were building. As you know, it's pretty common for construction workers in India for the time of the construction work, to live inside the site. The Islamic State came in the beginning. They were obviously not the only foreign workers working on this project. There were Bangladeshi nationals and other nationalities. It seems that the Islamic State separated those who they believed or they thought were Muslims and those who thought they were not. So obviously these Indians did not figure out in the to save list of the Islamic State. We don't know precisely what happened then. We know that families had a communication in the beginning, were able to communicate with the 39 Indians who were saying that there were talks and negotiations. They were trying to understand what to do. But then abruptly communication stopped. What happened from then onward is unfortunately left to our imagination. What I can say is that normally the Islamic State used the foreign workers found in those kind of construction sites for their own purposes, meaning to dig trenches or to transport material from one side to the other. And all these might have happened under the rain of bombs and the intense fighting that both the coalition forces and the Iraqi forces were doing in the city of Mosul. We don't know if they were moved to. We know now that they were found in a place in Badoush. We don't know if they were moved there for purposes. I mean, Badoush was one of the several front lines that the Islamic State used after the fall of Western Mosul to defend some of the positions. So we don't know if they were brought there to work, if they died there during an airstrikes, or if they were executed. This remains to be seen.
Indeed. And Daniele, just to stay on this story for a bit longer, now in the past we've seen some Indians go back to these conflict zones after things begin to stabilize. We saw that happen in Iraq after the Iraq war. We saw that happen in Lebanon, in Yemen. If I were to ask you, how safe is Iraq today after the liberation of Iraq or the areas in Mosul and other parts in Erbil from the so-called Islamic State? So how safe is it today for foreign workers who might be tempted to migrate or live and work there?
I would start by dividing Iraq in two very different regions. So the northern part of Iraq, which is called Kurdistan, is a very safe area, mostly untouched by the violence of the Islamic State, thanks to the line of defense of the Peshmerga Kurds, and thanks of the nearly 100% Kurdish population, which in that part of Iraq was not affected by the ideology of the Islamic State. When it comes to the rest of Iraq, the central and southern part of Iraq, it's a volatile state. As of now, I can say that large portions of southern Iraq, I'm thinking about the provinces of Basra, the Shia belt in the southern part of Iraq, are mostly safe. Iraq has just stated that is increasing the production of crude oil, that is letting foreign companies once again invest in the crude oil industry, in infrastructure. So it's getting safer and safer. There are still, though, uncertainties. What kind of uncertainties? In the central western provinces, the Islamic State still has some military presence. The coalition authorities are still bombing in those areas bordering with Syria. And also the problem is the terror attacks. The Islamic State has not been completely cancelled on the face of earth. They still have soldiers, they still have weapons, of course. Very far from what they were in 2014, but they still have a presence. And this kind of underground presence can be very dangerous. Baghdad is a large city, security apparatus are still not perfectly in place. So a terror attack can happen anytime and any moment. For a foreign worker willing to go in these areas, it's fundamental to take care and to have the maximum level of protection and security.
Indeed. On that note, Daniel, thank you so much for joining me live on this bulletin. We'll keep coming back to you as the day progresses. Appreciate it.